What's up, guys and gals? Roy from Roy's Customs. If and when you buy a new sub or pretty much any kind of speaker, you'll usually get a little pamphlet. It'll have suggestions on different ways to hook stuff up, you know, usually in it somewhere or on it. And then it'll have a bunch of this jargon, which most of you won't understand. But I'm going to tell you a few things that you do need to kind of look at. This is your spec sheet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a couple of the main things that you really want to look for. And I mean, the other stuff is pretty important. It really is, but it's not nearly as important as this other stuff, especially when you're new. Some of this other stuff is for like more professional guys that break it down and tweak and all this other crap. But if you just want something, you know, just want to hook up your first stereo system or your first amp and subs or whatever, I'm going to tell you what you need to really look at first, and I did do a little write-up on it so that I don't get it messed up, because sometimes my head and my mouth don't work together. Realistically, what you really want to look at first is your max power and your RMS power. These are really what you kind of want to look at first. Especially if you're buying your amp and your subs together. If you're buying your amp and your subs together, you know, you want to make sure that your amp is sufficient to push your subs, and you want to make sure your subs are sufficient to handle your amplifier. So, basically, what max power actually means is that at one sudden burst of power, that is the most that it can handle. Your RMS is actually what you can run it and sustain it for long periods of time. That's basic, and it's quickly explained, and that is it on that. That's really one of the first things you want to look at, especially if you're buying, or if you already have an amp and you're going out, you want to buy subs that can handle the output of the amplifier, or vice versa. You want to make sure that you have if you've already got a set of subs and you're going out to buy an amp for them, you want to make sure you're not going to overdrive the subs, because you don't want to blow them up. And you don't want to underdrive them, because that teeters on insanity. But if you're running at the RMS, or even slightly above RMS, you're going to do pretty well. Now, as far as the sensitivity, it's a useful tool, because that's the efficiency and volume you can expect from the amp and subs. For the sub, mostly for the input power. The RE on the spec sheet is basically, it's measured in ohms, and it's kind of like the resistance of the speaker. It's a useful tool. That way you know you can't go and put 0 ohms in a 4 ohm sub, because you'll probably blow it to smithereens or fry the voice coil. Your frequency, your FS, it's the free air resonant frequency of a speaker. Simply stated, it is the point at which the weight of the moving parts of the speaker becomes balanced. It's how it becomes balanced. And that's whenever you get your best response from your speaker. The BL, it's expressed in Tesla meters. It's a measurement of the motor strength, how strong that the motor is that's pushing the sub. And a high BL number, actually, it indicates a very strong motor. that moves the cone with authority. The CMS is measured in newtons. CMX, force exerted by a mechanical suspension of the speaker. Basically, it means the stiffness of the sub. The MMS is actually the weight of the air that the sub pushes. The QMS and the QES and the QTS, that's all about your electrical suspension and all that. But here's something that you want to know. Your QTS is your main, what you really want to look at. Because if it's 0.4 or below, then it needs to have a vented enclosure. A QTS between 0.4 and 0.7 should have a sealed enclosure. Now that's not always true, because especially with this Gothic I got, it's like 0.583 and it sounds fantastic and it responds well in my ported fiberglass sub box. So that's not always true, but this is basically telling you QTS of 0.7 or above indicates suitability for free air or infinite baffle applications. So that's some of the stuff that you really want to kind of look at. The most important thing though is max power versus RMS power. And the max power may say it's a 10,000 watt sub, but if that RMS says it only handles 3,000 watts, do not put 10,000 watts to that sub unless you expect it to last like maybe a day or two, if you're lucky. So just a few little tips, a few little pointers, some of what some of this stuff means. I'm not really going to go through like the hookups, but I am going to show you a few different variations here on this sheet that I actually got with mine. This actually shows you like, different parallels or single sub hookups. This one actually has a dual voice coil, so it's going to be a little different. And then there's like 1 ohm variation down here if you're doing like a 1 ohm with a dual voice coil. It's kind of going to be up to you on what you do with your subs. You can look most of this stuff up online if you really want to see. And then there's like second order, third order, fifth order, 10th order. There's all kinds of crazy ways to hook up subs. So these are all just some pretty basic tips on subs. As far as amplifiers go, it's pretty much the same thing, only it's the driver for the sub, and you want to kind of watch that. Like I say, you want to make sure that your amp and your subs are relatively matched, as far as equivalent power of handling for the sub and equivalent power for the output of the amp. So that's basically all I really have to discuss with you tonight on the sub. And this just happens to be just the one from the sub that I'm running currently, but I had questions I had wanted to know, so I decided to look it up, and I'm bringing that info to you. There's actually more info online if you have any more questions about what some of these abbreviations and stuff mean. But basically, realistically, if you're not doing competition type stuff, then all you really want to worry about is your max and your RMS, and then like your frequency response, so you can kind of tune your little dials to get the best frequency response out of it, and your sensitivity. The sensitivity on this one is 85.12 decibels, which is not bad for a single 12-inch sub. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video, and I hope it helps you guys that are new to car audio, and I hope it helps some of you guys that are still struggling with trying to figure it all out. Like I say, I mean, there's all this stuff in here, and I was like, I have no idea. So anyways, but the main thing that you really want to look for is your rated max and your RMS. Your RMS is actually your real number that you're looking for. And, you know, that's basically it. Just make sure your amps and your subs match each other and you're not overdriving and trying to blow stuff up or trying to fry your amp, because you can actually fry your amp if you've got the wrong sub hooked up to it. So anyways, guys and gals, I appreciate y'all watching. Feel free to subscribe and have a spectacular day or night, whichever one it is for you. Peace out.